Tom Mitchell, a proud Army Ranger, stood frozen as the vendor slapped an unexpected extra fee on his fresh produce, just because he wasn't a member. The cold dismissal cut deeper than any battlefield wound. What started as a simple market visit was about to ignite a firestorm nobody saw coming. But what happened next will shock even those who thought they'd seen everything. But first, let's go back to the beginning. Tom stood frozen for a moment, the weight of Carla's words sinking in like a sudden cold splash. The warm sun above the stalls and the familiar hum of morning chatter felt distant and hollow. His hands, which had held weapons in hostile places, now trembled slightly as he clutched the canvas bag filled with fresh produce. The sharp sting wasn't just about money, it was about respect, or the glaring lack of it. For years, Tom had returned from overseas, trying to piece together normalcy for his family while carrying the invisible scars of war. His visits to the farmer's market weren't merely errands. They were his way of reconnecting with the land he'd fought to protect and the community that had always been his anchor. He knew every vendor by name, every variety of heirloom tomato and crisp apple. The market was a place where he felt part of something bigger than himself, a place that echoed the values of loyalty and fairness he held dear. Carla's abrupt dismissal pierced deeper than any harsh word he'd endured in uniform. "No exceptions," she said, an invisible wall that didn't just separate a price tag, but a profound divide in recognition and gratitude. Tom's mind raced, replaying memories of sacrifices made and comrades lost, wondering how such small-mindedness could coexist in a place that claimed to celebrate community. The other shoppers nearby glanced over, sensing the tension, but unsure whether to intervene or stay silent. Tom caught fleeting looks of sympathy, but no one stepped forward. The market was bustling, vibrant, but beneath its lively surface, a fracture had formed, one that threatened to undermine the very trust it depended on. Tom's heart sank further as he thought of his daughter, Lily, who was waiting at home to help prepare the meals. She admired her father's resilience and kindness, the way he carried his burdens without complaint. How could he explain that even here, in a town that should have been a refuge, he was being singled out and penalized? The unfair charge was not merely a policy, it was a message, loud and clear, that some who served were less deserving of kindness. Tom's pride clenched painfully as anger bubbled beneath his calm exterior. This wasn't about the fee itself, but the principle it violated. The very idea of paying extra because he lacked a membership card, despite his service and sacrifices, felt like a betrayal of everything he had fought for. He took a deep breath, steadying himself against the growing storm inside. There was a battle here too, not with weapons or tactics, but with integrity and community spirit. And Tom wasn't ready to back down. The market might try to dismiss him with cold bureaucracy, but he would make sure his voice, and the voices of others like him, would be heard. The produce bag felt heavier now, not from the weight of the fruits and vegetables, but from the burden of injustice it symbolized. Tom turned away from the stall, his jaw set firmly, the simmering fire of resolve lighting his eyes. The morning sun still shone, but now it illuminated a new fight, one for respect, fairness, and the acknowledgement that veterans like him deserved better than an extra fee and a dismissive shrug. Tom's anger was a slow burning ember that ignited into a fierce blaze as word of the unfair fee spread through the veteran community. Calls and messages flooded his phone from comrades in the 2nd Ranger Battalion, each voice thick with indignation and disbelief. To them, this wasn't a petty financial dispute, it was an affront to their honor, a public slap to the faces of those who had borne the heaviest burdens in defense of the nation. The unspoken code of brotherhood meant they couldn't stand idly by while one of their own was marginalized. Every message carried the weight of shared experience, memories of grueling deployments and unyielding loyalty, now fueling a collective resolve. The local news caught wind of the controversy quickly. Carla, the market's stall manager, held her ground with practiced calm. On camera, she framed the fee as a practical response to rising operational costs, insisting it was a uniform policy applied without prejudice. To her, the market was a business, and business decisions were driven by necessity, not personal feelings. The corporate rationale, equal treatment for all customers, seemed straightforward and fair on the surface, but the community saw the underlying message as cold and dismissive. That disconnect fractured the small town's sense of unity. Families who once saw the market as a weekend ritual now found themselves questioning the values it represented. For veterans and their supporters, the market's actions were a betrayal of the respect owed to those who served. Local Facebook groups erupted with posts and comments demanding accountability, with hashtags like #FeeForVets and #RespectOurRangers trending overnight. People shared stories of camaraderie and sacrifice, juxtaposed sharply against the market's indifferent stance. Boycotts began quietly, but gathered steam like an unstoppable current. Shoppers diverted their dollars to competing vendors and nearby farms, seeking alternatives that aligned more closely with their values. The market's once bustling aisles thinned, its vibrant energy draining with every lost customer. Carla's refusal to budge hardened her reputation, turning a business decision into a lightning rod for community ire. Amidst the mounting tension, an unexpected force mobilized in the shadows. The 2nd Ranger Battalion itself, renowned for precision and discipline on the battlefield, now orchestrated a mission of solidarity and goodwill. Without fanfare, the Rangers pooled their resources, tapping into a deep well of collective generosity. Their plan was simple yet powerful: purchase every item from every stall at the market, flooding it with business while making a profound statement of unity. The operation was executed with the same meticulous attention to detail that had defined their military careers. Rangers arrived in small groups, blending quietly with other shoppers, filling carts and crates with vibrant fruits, crisp vegetables, and artisanal goods. Stall owners who had stood firm with Carla now found their saddles emptied by an unexpected army, not of conflict, but of support. The message was unmistakable. Veterans were not just customers, they were pillars of the community, capable of both standing firm and lifting others. The collective act resonated far beyond the market's boundaries. It transformed a story of exclusion into one of resilience and solidarity, revealing the unseen alliances that often lie beneath the surface. Tom watched the mission unfold with a quiet pride that ran deeper than any military medal, a pride rooted in the unbreakable bonds of shared purpose and the relentless pursuit of respect. The sun hung high and unwavering in the sky as the veterans began their procession into the farmers' market, a sight both striking and resolute. Trucks lined up like armored convoys, carts brimming with crates and baskets, engines humming a steady pulse of purpose. Their presence was impossible to ignore, uniformed not by camouflage but by determination and a shared mission that transcended battlefield lines. Eyes followed them, whispers rippled through the crowd, curiosity blending with growing respect. This was no ordinary Saturday. It was a reckoning forged by quiet dignity and unyielding resolve. Each ranger moved with practiced efficiency, filling carts with every last piece of produce, every jar of preserves, every loaf of bread. The market stalls, once symbols of exclusion and economic policy, now transformed into stages for a powerful narrative, the reclaiming of honor through generosity. There was no haste, no chaos, only a deliberate, purposeful sweep that spoke volumes without uttering a single word. Every tomato picked, every bunch of kale lifted, every basket of berries collected was an act of defiance against dismissal and a declaration of belonging. But what made the moment resonate far beyond the market's dusty lanes was what happened next. The veterans didn't sell the goods for profit, nor did they hoard the harvest as trophies of victory. Instead, they became conduits of kindness, delivering crates heavy with fresh produce to local shelters, food banks, and families whose struggles had long been overlooked. Hands that once wielded rifles now extended generosity, steady, unyielding, and purposeful. The goods were distributed with care, each donation a lifeline to someone in need, a testament to the enduring spirit of community even in the face of exclusion. Carla, standing behind her stall, watched in stunned silence. Her lips parted as if to speak, but the words faltered and fell away. The confrontation she had so confidently waged, fueled by business pragmatism and cold policy, crumbled before the undeniable truth of the veterans' actions. The community's gaze shifted, no longer questioning the veterans' place, but reaffirming their essential role as pillars of strength and compassion. The market was no longer a battleground. It was a classroom where lessons of respect, sacrifice, and unity were etched deeply into every watching heart. Pressure mounted relentlessly on the market's governing committee. The voices of the town's citizens, amplified by social media and personal conversations, demanded restitution. The public apology they issued was uncharacteristically heartfelt, an acknowledgement not only of a misguided fee, but of the deeper wounds inflicted by exclusion. They rescinded the extra charge and in its place introduced a formal discount program for veterans, a tangible step toward restoring dignity and trust. The promise to rebuild fractured bonds wasn't mere rhetoric. It was a call to action to ensure that respect for service was woven into the market's very fabric. For Tom Mitchell, the victory was bittersweet but profound. Justice was more than a policy reversal. It was a restoration of community and a reaffirmation of shared values. The satisfaction he felt was not born of personal triumph, but of collective courage, the strength found in comradeship, both old and new, and in a community that refused to let one of its own be cast aside. The story closed not with bitterness, but with renewal. The farmers' market reborn, vibrant and inclusive, a place where veterans were not just customers, but celebrated heroes, honored not only for battles fought overseas, but for the dignity they fought to reclaim at home.